Hey everyone, my name is Clover, and today I'm showing you, rather the pros are going to show you, I'm just going to talk over it and explain what players in the Overwatch League do to the high success for the new push game mode. I know what you may be thinking, but those are pros and my teammates feed all the time. But that's not the point I'm trying to make here. While their coherence as a team is unattainable, what I want to glance at is the roles of individual players and how they play around the robot, their target priority, how they approach fights, and how individual plays lead to the eventual conclusion of these matches. Plural. Yeah, this is going to be a big VOD review sesh, but just picking out specific parts. As such, there will be multiple chapters to this, so you can use the loading bar to skip through to a specific chapter. Otherwise, I recommend watching the whole thing just to absorb into your brain. Let's quickly talk about the basics of the push game mode if you're unfamiliar. Here's a robot. This fellow Omnic needs to be escorted while he pushes this barricade for some reason. You can move him if you're in proximity, and if both teams contest the robot, it will stand still and won't push until one of them leaves, usually after when, you kill the team. The robot moves at two speeds. One when he's pushing, what I like to call the push block, the other speed when he's walking and not pushing the push block. Note, the speeds don't amplify if more people stand around it, unlike the payload in escort in hybrid game modes. If a team does reach a first checkpoint, their respawn will move closer, making it so any dead teammates can more quickly get back to the team to fight or be ready to defend without the extra walking distance from the original spawn. However, if that robot does cross the middle mark into your territory, you will no longer have those forward spawns. The team who manages to capture the final checkpoint or has the furthest distance after the time runs out is declared the winner. Initially, this game mode can be incredibly snowbally for the fact that the winning team will have better ult economy heading into the second fight, and if that team wins the second fight, they're going to get that checkpoint, and that's a steep hill to climb for the opposing team. But when the back and forth starts to happen, this mode is definitely a test of a player's understanding of Overwatch fundamentals. The game begins with the standoff. Both teams go towards the statue, and for Atlanta, with the Lucio speed, get there before Shanghai could. Fate and Flutter recognize that they can't take the 2v5, so they decide to retreat back. I want to highlight how important this move was, because with dive comps, your goal is to set up your tank and DPS to pounce on the backline. Because Shanghai couldn't set up with their ball, they opted to play defensively, at least for this first fight. If you notice, Atlanta is also playing dive. Doomfist doesn't require as much setup compared to Wrecking Ball, so Hawk can wait with the rest of his team while they send Venom on the flank. Fleta anticipates this move and surprises Venom, forcing him to recall out to safety, and this is a small advantage Shanghai needed, because eventually Venom does get poked out, and without one of his key cooldowns, yeah, that's it for him. And then Shanghai continuing to push forward with little to no resistance. This is just mastery from both sides, recognizing their opponent's strategy and properly countering them. With the Atlanta Reign initially getting there before the Shanghai Dragons, they denied the Shanghai Dragons from even setting up their own dive and forced them to play defensively. Now, the Shanghai Dragons were smart enough, and Fleta denied the flank, recognizing that the reason the Atlanta Reign isn't diving is because they just want Venom to have a superior position. Fleta denies that, wins the 1v1, and the rest is history. We'll just see how important going on the flank and setting up the dive really is. This time, Gladiators have the Lucio, and their team reaches statue faster, which then allows Kevser to flank for free. The Spark no Kevser is up here as he just shoots around, and this divides their attention into two places. Glad spots Shy, who is out of position, and just like that, Shy goes down. A big mistake from the Spark not contesting the flank, but it seems their plan was, just looking at their team comp, was to sit back and win the ranged battle with Zen and his Discord, but the dive was just too fast for them. One more here. London Spitfire are pretty much the only team that is running a successful rush comp with Reinhardt, Mei, and Lucio. The strategy for this comp is to stick together as much as possible to mitigate poke damage and utilize the AoE healing from Bap and Lucio, so they're just kind of huddling. But what they're waiting for and what they're looking for is to isolate players with the Ice Wall and then use the amp speed from Admiral to pummel their opponents. That's their win condition. The Spitfire find both of Dallas's supports lingering behind, and that's when Spitfire decides to pull the trigger, walling off Chio and getting the first pick. This just goes to show the standoff isn't anything special compared to what you might know already. The thing is that with the standoff, it's a neutral fight. There's no ultimates on the field, and you need to identify your strong suits, your win conditions with just your generic abilities without having your ultimates. Let's move away from the team strategy and talk about the basics of where to position and who is on robot duty. It's difficult to answer because it's context related, but in most cases, the speedy and evasive heroes are going to push the robot the most. They're able to push much more safely because if they get in trouble, they can simply blink away or can quickly help kill a target, contribute to a fight, then go back to pushing again. And tanks usually don't push the robot because they need to set up and gain map control for the next upcoming team fight. See here, Atlanta just won the standoff fight, Hawk is hiding by the spiral section, and Venom is going to be sneaking under the bridge. And Atlanta makes some first move as the fight breaks out. Hawk gets slept as he tries to leave, but if I rewind to it, ignoring all the plays and what happens in the future of this fight, what I want to see is this little screenshot here. So where's Ziana now? She's playing from a range behind one of the pillars. You also see this for any slow moving support or sniper. You can see the Sojourn in the back right as well. They want to seed the fight, but they don't want to be part of the fight, if that makes sense. The person who is pushing the robot in the meantime is Lucio, and this is during the fight. And you can see OG is just going to be super hard to hit as he's hiding behind the push block, but he could also wall ride on here, contribute a few bullets, you know, whatever it is. And he's also in the prime position to peel for the backline if Houston decides to dive the backline. So the reason why Ana and Sojourn aren't going to be pushing, I can kind of sum this up in 2 words. Immediate threats. The reason Ana, or it could be Zen, Brig, you know, the Sojourn, Widow, is because they team wipe the Outlaws initially, so they're just push the robot, and as they stack all together, they're kind of reducing all their risk. No one's really trying to flank or overextend here. I mean, Kai does go for that one play initially, gets that pick, but that's all fine and dandy because there's no immediate threats. Now, in an undetermined fight, meaning there's like 2 players alive at the end of it, that's where you see a different strategy. The Fusion here won the fight, but they lost some members along the way, so they need to wait for them to respawn so that they can fight a fair fight, 5v5. So you'll see MN3 backs off, and I'm assuming Bellarisa right now, just because he's a tank, is setting up for the next engage. But instead of doing nothing, Zest is going to walk the robot back to the barricade so that they can gain a little bit of progress. It is the job for these fast heroes, and really just shows the necessity of having a hero like Tracer on your team to push and gain that little bit of progress. Granted, this isn't the ideal scenario, but if Fusion don't do this, they're going to stay behind and will have to win consecutive fights to even just tie. Playing your life is the name of the game until the numbers say otherwise, and that's where, instead of retreating, going aggressive is the key. Atlanta is currently in control, pushing the robot when, yeah, Lip just kills OG. I think Atlanta realizes they can't take the fight knowing that they don't have sound barrier anymore, and Pulse Bomb isn't going to win them the fight. What's the plan here for Atlanta? They're going to look for a trade kill, and the entire team goes hyper aggressive trying to get one. Hawk slams in along with Kai, who manages to take out Izayaki. Briefly, think about their target priority here. Their focus is on the backline. Why? They are easy targets to kill, with less of a health pool than tanks, but are also slow, so easy to track or snipe. Can you see how punishing that kill really was? To remind you again, Atlanta lost the fight. They lost OG. But because Atlanta got the trade kill, Shanghai couldn't push as far as they wanted, as they needed to regroup and wait for Izayaki. So Atlanta basically had 2 turns to push in a row. That brings us to what is the best strategy. To simplify, I'll go step by step. The standoff or the initial fight comes down to your understanding of team comps. What are their strengths, weaknesses, and identifying a win condition. In ranked, you'll get plenty of chances to punish misused abilities. That's why communicating with your team will be important, but even more so to improve your understanding of these fundamentals to succeed. I think it's essential to have some speed element in your team composition, being Lucio or having a minimum of 2 dive heroes. The pacing and flow of this game mode really gives teams who are running a faster comp to create more pressure on the backline, draw attention away, while also to get a few extra meterage for those undetermined fights. Speaking of which, if you or someone on your team dies, you have 2 options. Target priority is critical because for option 1, if you continue to fight for a trade kill, you not only give yourself a chance to win the fight, but even in spite of losing, you prevent the opposing team from gaining significant progress and map control. Option 2, if the fight is lost and you're able to run away, do it. This will help prevent staggering and wasting valuable time. But if you know you will be caught, just run towards the robot so you can die and maybe stall for a bit. Lastly, pushing the robot has its own set of rules for who's supposed to do what and where you should be. After a clean fight, the tank and supportive heroes push forward to hold a particular corner or key areas of the map. That's the same thing you would do on King's Row, where you would hold this corner because it forms kind of like a brick wall, or for dives, a trap that resists the opposing team from stopping the robot's progress. Supports and long-range heroes should play back to remain safe whilst being effective. Now, I didn't talk about point pressure, but I think I need to bring it up because, just for future reference, it might have a huge or significant impact depending on the team comp. It is a legitimate strategy only once the robot has made it past around 20 meters. Point pressure will have two functions. One, to continue getting progress while you're in the midst of a fight, or to draw away the attention from the enemies so that you basically delay their progress. What you're basically doing is utilizing the walking speed and how it's like 2 to 3 times faster than the pushing speed. So if there's a game where it's 50 to 50, you can push that robot so far back where if they don't have fast heroes, that's a heck of a long walk for them. But I think at one point, abandoning the robot in order to help contribute to the fight more is more valuable since there's a lot of downtime between fights. Well, that's all I've got for now. If you want to improve your team comms knowledge and make better callouts, check out this video here. And yeah, thank you all for watching. And until then, I'll see you when I see you. Peace.